I went and logged into my federal loan account, and this is what I found. I graduated in 2011 with $46,000 in student loan debt. My loan debt is now almost $90,000. In that time, I've been a social worker that has made income-based repayments on my loan for years, and that has almost doubled. You want to know why people are pissed off about their student loans? It's not because we can't get anyone else to pay them for us. It is because you have set it up where we can never pay them off ourselves. And then you sit here and tell us into our faces that we are lazy, this is somehow our fault, while cheering on banks and auto industries and Elon Musk getting subsidies of millions of dollars a day. Anyone who still doesn't see that this is rigged against us can get because this is bull.
Now, we all know that the student loan debate on TikTok is still going very viral. This video actually has like 1.5 million views on TikTok currently and a plethora of replies. It seems like the internet is divided between should people pay back their student loans or should they not? Now, I feel like there's a little nuance to the conversation. And I can understand where everybody is coming from, especially somebody in, say, her situation, right? But morally, I feel like it's right to pay back money you owe. I also don't think it's right to take advantage of people in the sense that a lot of people were taken advantage of with their student loans. And the truth is, I'm not sure that there's much that we can do about that now, except try to warn people about what the consequences of these sort of loans could be. Now, a lot of people said they ain't got the money, they not paying. And everybody is entitled to do whatever they want to do. While there has been a lot of discourse, I think a lot of people truly don't understand how something like this can happen. And that's understandable, right? This is a good opportunity to educate people on how stuff like this happens so it doesn't happen to them. Now, I want to point out a key piece of information that she mentions here in the video, which is this.
In that time, I've been a social worker that has made income-based repayments on my loan for years, and that has almost doubled.
She had been making payments towards her student loans, which a lot of people have. However, the key part of the conversation is it was income-based repayments, essentially meaning she was paying based off of how much income she gets from her job. So if you don't make that much money at your job, they're not probably going to take a lot of money, if you get what I mean. And her experience is quite common. A lot of people have made the decision to go ahead and do income-based repayments. So she definitely is not alone. Now, as I said, these repayment plans are based off of your income, not the actual loan balance. But if you owe a lot of money on your loan, it's going to take you way longer to pay back the original loan amount. They're looking into their balances and seeing that not only did it not go down, it actually went up. And in that time, it's accruing interest. And everybody knows that interest is one of the things that makes it hard for a lot of people to even pay back loans or pay back money in general, because if the money is not going to the principal of the loan, it's probably going to the interest. And this is why a lot of experts recommend to not make minimum payments on things, because it will take you an extended amount of time to pay it back off. Now, let's just think about this, y'all. If your income is low and you have to repay back a loan and it's based off of how much income you have coming in, then your payment to the loan is probably low too. You're likely not going to be paying that off fast. The payment that you're putting in isn't enough to cover that interest and the principal. And not only that, the interest is building up over time. And she had that loan for a very long time to where the interest at this point is eating her up. So then what happens next is the interest that you didn't pay ends up getting put into the actual principal amount that you owed originally, and then interest is added on top of that. So if you get what I'm saying, the number would essentially just continue to go up and up and up and up, and you're still making payments based off of how much money you make. Meanwhile, your loan is getting interest added to it, and it's almost like compounding, if you get what I mean, making it extremely difficult to ever pay back that loan. Now, it's nuanced to everything we talk about. I understand the frustration with that. I think it's ridiculous. And I feel the same way about credit card companies, Klarna, Afterpay, payday loans. And it's very unfortunate that a lot of people find themselves in this situation to where they simply can't afford to pay. They don't know how they're going to pay because now they are in so deep. But I also feel like, as bad as this whole situation is, this is the type of stuff people need to see. This type of stuff people need to know, because a lot of people don't think something like this is going to happen. And they're like, oh, I'm just going to get an income-based repayment and just pay back my loan, not realizing that if you do that and you don't make a good amount of money, your loan amount might double. You might look back and actually owe 3 times more than what you even originally took. So you got to question, is it even worth it? Or maybe even strategize and say, hey, maybe there's another way I can go to school for this thing I want to do and get this education another way. Really consider what are going to be your payment plan options if you were to take out a student loan, because the internet is in shambles right now. People are scrambling. People have bills, which I understand. People have been losing jobs this year, like left and right. And the student loan debacle on top of all of this, it's a lot for a lot of people right now. And another thing I wanted to cover is during the forbearance time where a lot of the student loans were paused, a lot of people stopped making their payments at that time too. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the fact that she has been making payments, which is very different than a lot of videos we have seen where a lot of people have just been like, hey, I'm not making the payments. I never was going to make the payments. You know, it's very sad to see somebody actually trying to make an effort because whether it worked out in her favor or not, she was making the payments, but they were income-based. It just didn't amount to what she needed to really help her out in the long run, if you get what I mean. And I hope that anybody in this situation or that owes any sort of student loans is able to work something out with the service provider because, y'all, it's a lot. And y'all, she ended up doing a follow-up video to the last viral video she had. And here's what she had to say.
So I'm going to go ahead and respond to all 5,000 comments on that video about my student loans right here. So first of all, anyone who disagrees with what I said, please go look at those comments and see the other thousands of people that are in the exact same situation because the system is rigged against us. It doesn't really matter what your fucking degree is. It doesn't really matter what college you go to. It was set up so that we can never get out of this system.
And to that, I have to say I respectfully disagree. And here's why. There are people who have went into certain careers and professions with their degrees, and they were able to pay it back. And I always ask, and I even asked in the last video, what are a lot of these people going into debt for? And I don't want people to take this as an attack. This is just the truth, y'all. Depending on the type of school you went to, depends on the cost. Those prestigious universities, way different costs than your local community college. If you lived on campus, makes a big difference. Did you have scholarships? Makes a huge difference. Did you go to college through any sort of programs where they were going to pay your loans back? These sort of things were done by a lot of people very strategically because of the cost that comes with going to college. And unfortunately, with a lot of other people, that may not have happened. People that have degrees in jobs that are in demand in high-paying jobs will be able to pay back their student loans faster. Unless you have another way that you're making money out in this world and you're able to pay back your student loans, it matters. It absolutely matters. And the reason why I don't want to just sweep that under the rug is because a lot of people still to this day are screaming, it don't matter. The system is rigged. But two things can be true at once. It can matter, and the system can have a lot of flaws in it. And it's a very flawed system, very predatory system.
Secondly, it was set up so that we can never get out of this system.
Now, I'll definitely say they would love for y'all to stay in student loan debt. They would love, all these companies that y'all borrow money from would love for y'all to keep borrowing more, keep living above your means. And I'm not saying she's doing that, but I'm just saying just adding more expenses to your life. They would love it. Because they know the longer you do that, the longer it's going to take you to pay back your obligations, your loans, your credit card, your Klarna payments. You see what I'm saying? It's all a thing. It is a system set up to keep you in debt. But we also have to be honest about the alternative routes that people take to avoid this sort of thing because they understood that if you get caught up in this system and you're not digging yourself out of the situation fast, that interest eats a lot of people up, y'all. And that's why they don't want the debt. That's why they're like working 3-4 jobs, getting roommates, moving back in with their parents, just so they can pay back their loans because the interest is what does it. And that's what we seem to see a lot of times in these conversations. But the longer you sit on that loan and you make minimum payments, the worse it gets. And we also have to think, what if life happens because life happens to people? You might even end up behind on payments.
First of all. Secondly, for the people that wanted to insult my career as a social worker, why didn't I pick something that paid better? I could have got a better job. You know what? What if everybody thought like you? My goal when I started my career was not to be rich, and that is still not my goal. See, I live by the philosophy that I don't need a second plate until everybody has a first. That is how I lived my life, and that's how I will continue to live my life until I
give up the ghost
from these goddamn student loans.
Now, I think social work is very important, and I think she might be in a field that's underpaid, but it seems like she went into that field understanding that she would be underpaid. I don't think it's right that her field don't pay a lot, but objectively speaking, it seems like she wasn't in it for that reason, for the money, like she said. But the truth is, a lot of y'all go into things because it's your passion. And in my opinion, these loan companies take advantage of the fact that a lot of people have a quote-unquote passion to help people, and they'll let you dig yourself into a lot of debt to become a social worker. And then, unfortunately, you may not be able to pay your stuff back fast. And then at that point, is it still worth it to go into a line of work to where you weren't in it about the money, but now you can't not go to work because you need money, if that makes sense? Because now, because of the career you chose and the obligations you have to pay back your loan, now you're really stuck. So it's like you get the job that you wanted to do because you're passionate, which is great. But I would ask, and I want y'all to tell me down below, is it more important to go into a career that you're more passionate about or a career that actually makes you money? Because I feel like that's the dilemma that we're seeing right now. But again, two things can be true at once. I feel like they should get paid more because they do a lot of work for the community and people that are in need.
Not all of us walk around thinking about what we can take from everything. Some people walk around thinking about what we can give. And that was my mindset when I chose my career and I went into my field. As a child that was a victim of myself, I went into a field where I could make a difference for people. And it did not pay well. I never made over $15. I have seen things that haunt my fucking nightmares that you will never be able to imagine. And I carry that with me, along with $90,000 fucking dollars in goddamn debt now. So you tell me how those of us that are out here dealing with this on levels you can't even understand. And on top of it, we can't even take a vacation.
Oh, yeah.
We can't go get treated for our mental health or our physical health because every part of this American system is rigged against us. Get it?
And what's interesting is she circled back to what we were just talking about, where I was saying they can't afford to not do the job that's paying them $15 an hour. Or maybe they could, essentially, they could go work another job. Maybe that pays $19 or something like that. But she says she's in this line of work because this is where her passion is. And I think, again, not paid enough for the type of stuff they deal with. But nonetheless, I want to know, do you all feel like people in this situation should just move on to another career due to the situation that they're in financially? I would love people to be able to work in the field that they have a passion for and to be able to help people in all these things. But a lot of people right now are quite honestly stuck between a rock and a hard place, pending what is about to happen come May 5th. Now, I don't know if she defaulted on her loans. Seems like she's been working with them to pay back her stuff. Symone, trying to keep you out of debt. Hit subscribe, touch the screen. Another thing I noticed online is a lot of people don't quite understand the difference between deferment, delinquencies, and defaults on student loans. So I thought we should talk about that really quick. Now, according to studentaid.gov, the first day after you miss a student loan payment, your student loan becomes past due or delinquent, and your account remains delinquent until you repay the past due amount or make other arrangements, such as changing a repayment plan or getting deferment or forbearance. And it goes on to say, if you are delinquent on your student loan repayments for 90 days or more, your loan servicer will report the delinquency to the National Credit Bureaus, which means everybody's going to know that you have not been paying your student loans because it's going to show up on your credit. Now, here's the important part, y'all. There is a difference between being delinquent and being defaulted on your student loans. And as we see here, according to the article, if your loan continues to be delinquent, the loan goes into default. Symone, when are you considered to be in default? Well, according to this article, you become in default if you do not make your scheduled student loan payments for at least 270 days. So when we're hearing these stories online about people being defaulted or being delinquent on their student loans, there is a difference. And there also is a difference between being in forbearance, which we will get into here in a second. But the people who are currently defaulted in student loans have went at least 270 days without making payments to their student loan. Right now, we're on the U.S. Department of Education website. This article, published on April 21st, 2025, outlines a statement from U.S. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon, where she says American taxpayers will no longer be forced to serve as collateral for irresponsible student loan policies. Now, remember, I just told you all that the term default means that you have not paid your student loans in a period of 270 days or more. And according to this article, more than 5 million borrowers have not made a monthly payment in over 360 days and sit in default. This is what had the internet in shambles. And the article even goes on to say that 5 million borrowers we just talked about, many of them have been defaulted on student loans for more than 7 years. Now, this right here is the important part that I think a lot of people need to be paying attention to. 4 million borrowers are in late stage delinquency. Now, I just told you all, delinquency and default are not the same thing. Delinquency is the stage before you end up in default, which is 270 days or more. So 4 million borrowers are currently in that late stage delinquency, ranging from 91 to 180 days. In simple terms, what that means is the people who are currently in delinquency are about to become defaulted on their student loans. And we are going to probably see that number climb here in the next few months, which this article goes on to outline by saying, as a result, there could be almost 10 million borrowers in default in the next few months. And when this happens, almost 25%, y'all, of the federal student loan portfolio will be on default. That's 1/4 of people that have student loans will be defaulted. That's a large amount of American citizens. And out of all of those numbers we just named, only 38% of borrowers are in repayment and current on their student loans. Long story short, most people aren't making the payments required to keep them out of the situation. Now that we understand what all these terms mean and how it affects people who have student loans, I want to talk about this new article released by Forbes on April 30th. Who we see here on the screen is Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. Now, there was a conference had at the White House on April 29th where legislation was passed to reshape federal student loan repayments and loan forgiveness, where he ended up saying, today, the Education and Workforce Committee passed the Student Success and Taxpayer Saving Plan. Now, the Education and Workforce Committee Chair Tim Walberg ended up saying this statement: our current student loan system is broken and has left students holding over $1.6 trillion in federal student loan debt, with taxpayers estimated to lose hundreds of billions of dollars on loan disbursements over the next decade. But the reason I think this is very important to talk about is because according to this article and what we've been seeing online about the student loan repayments, the proposed changes to the student loan repayment programs would have profound impacts for millions of borrowers, potentially leading to higher payments and cutting off loan forgiveness eligibility. Now, I know a lot of y'all are like, what are we talking about and what does this really mean? Well, for a lot of people making income-based repayments, they may be affected. And here's why. The Student Success and Taxpayer Savings Plan would upend this federal student loan repayment plan system by narrowing down the number of plans to just 2. And it continues to tell us what the 2 standard option plans would be. One standard plan option would have fixed payments on a term between 10 to 25 years, depending on the borrower's balance. But here's what it says about the second option, which is a new income-driven option called the Repayment Assistant Plan, would have monthly payments comparable to the PAYE plan and the new IBR, but with a 30-year student loan forgiveness term instead of 25 or 30, effectively forcing borrowers to repay their loans for far longer. And it says here in the black and white, y'all, current borrowers on income-driven plans may be forced to pay higher student loan payments. And I know you may be wondering, is this already in effect? Well, it says here, if the bill ultimately in its current form becomes law, borrowers could see changes in their student loan repayment plan, their monthly payments, and their student loan forgiveness eligibility by the end of this year, y'all, and it's currently 2025. Now, a lot of people are saying that they have loan deferments or loan forbearance, and what exactly is that? According to federalaid.gov, both deferments and forbearance allows you to temporarily postpone or reduce your federal student loan payments. Key differences are, during a deferment, interest doesn't accrue on some types of direct loans. And during a forbearance, interest accrues on all types of direct loans. Now, keep in mind that we are just days away from the May 5th deadline where a lot of people who have defaulted on their student loans will start to possibly see their wages garnished or face their taxes being taken away from them or lose access to federal funded programs. I want to see what people's college experience has been overall and how they feel about their degrees and paying back student loans. This next one right here finna be interesting. This has over 1.8 million views on TikTok currently, and it currently says on the screen, my degree is a joke. I'm worried.
I went to a fashion business school. Here's my degree.
Okay.
I went to a fashion business school, and I cannot even get a job that makes more than $17 an hour.
I honestly feel bad for her. Mercy.
I work for big brands. Like, I have experience working for luxury brands. I have multiple internships under my belt. I'm very smart. I'm very capable. And literally none of these places are hiring. Every single job, especially where I'm applying to in Manhattan, because the fashion capital of the world. I'm like, if I'm going to go anywhere, it's going to be Manhattan. I cannot get a job that pays more than like $17 an hour.
Alarms went off in my head. When she said the fashion capital being Manhattan, honestly, I don't know much about fashion. Do people go to New York for that too? Anyway, my thought was, if there's a lot of competition, it's already going to be hard enough. But the fact that she went to get a degree, 4 years in college, for something that it just seems like, I'm just being honest, y'all, it just seems like they would have paid her $17 an hour for the same thing without a degree. Now, I'm no expert, but the amount of influencers I've been seeing pop up online that they didn't have no degrees, they be on TikTok putting some pieces together for the free, getting sponsorships, deals, working with brands and all of that. I'm just saying, is it worth it to go into debt for some of these degrees? Can we be honest? Please don't take what I'm saying as an attack, because it's not. We have to be observant. In the end, this doesn't make sense. And I'll be totally honest, if I was to see this video, I'd be like, I'm not doing that. If I was really deep into fashion, I would not do it. I don't care if I thought it was a good idea. Videos like this would convince me otherwise because they have the results to show, hey, that might not work. I think about the younger people who are like, I want to go to school for fashion. I'm going to move to Manhattan. I'm going to move to a big city and everything's going to be so easy. And it's going to be like, they're going to be throwing jobs at me because I'm good at what I do. And before that, I'm going to go to college for this thing and bury myself into debt. I would bare minimum reconsider. Seeing things like this would make me say, is there another way? And you should. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Like, am I gonna be poor forever? Like, I'm just like, I can't. And people are like, just keep applying. I'm like, I've been applying every single day, doing hundreds of applications. I'm about to call my school up and say that this degree that I spent 4 years trying to get, 4 years,
Wow,
was a waste of money.
Now, one good thing I could possibly see coming out of this is perhaps she could just work for herself. Now, I'm not saying that everybody is fit and cut out to work for themselves or to be an entrepreneur or a business owner, because I understand. But if she's talented, she might be able to go that route, and then maybe she won't feel like her degree was essentially a joke. But I need to see what the comments are saying. Now, the top comment says, you went to college for a hobby. Ugh. And somebody replied to that by saying, at least it looks like she went to school for something she wanted to do, unlike some of us who are stuck in jobs we don't like decades later. She's young, she has time. Again, is it better to go to college and regret getting a degree, even if it's in something you're passionate about and then feel like it wasn't worth it? Or just to go for something that's going to make you money? Because we're acting like we don't have car notes, we don't have mortgages, we don't have, like, some of y'all got kids, insurance, health insurance, dental insurance, all that stuff costs money. So by all means, you can go to school for something that's fun and a hobby, but when you don't make enough money and you knew that you did it for fun, do you also then have the right to be like, hey, I'm not getting paid a good amount of money for the lifestyle I want to live? And that's an important conversation. You see, a lot of people want to live a certain lifestyle, and the thing that they went to school for is likely not going to give them the return on investment and give them enough money to live that type of lifestyle. What that is called is reverse engineering, y'all. It's essentially where you have a goal that you want to reach and you say, hey, how do I get there? What is it going to take to achieve that goal? For example, you are a person that wants to go on 5 vacations a year. You don't want to go to a free state park or a cheap alternative. You want to go out the country. You know, off top, going all these places is going to cost, like, let's just say it's going to cost you $10,000, right? And you write it down, $10,000. So then you start asking yourself, where am I going to be able to work where I'm going to be able to afford my cost of living monthly, live how I want to live every day, make sure I have health insurance, dental insurance, have a car, all the things that I need as an adult, be able to get Starbucks, you know, all of those little things that you know you want to do. And you write all of that down and you come up with that dollar amount. Once you get that dollar amount, you don't then say, I'm going to go to school for something because it's my passion, even though you want to live a certain lifestyle. Something has got to give, y'all. That's the truth. Pick one. You see, a lot of us think we could have it all. You've been told you deserve the world. You should have whatever you want. You deserve it. And the truth is about life. Sometimes if you give a lot, you get a lot. Sometimes if you give a little, you get a little. And sometimes you can try as hard as you want and it still ain't gonna go the way you want. But math is math, y'all. You add those things up that you want to do, you might find you already fall short because of the degree you're choosing, because of the job you're choosing, because of the career you're choosing. And then you'll be on TikTok saying, everybody getting to go to Coachella. Everybody doing this. They going on vacation. I can't afford to. Just think about it, y'all. A lot of people can't afford to do the things they want to do because of the careers they're in. They simply don't pay enough. And that's not a dig at anybody who is not able to do that. That is just the reality of the situation. And to be honest, a lot of the times when we say the degree in question out loud, it makes sense because most of us don't know people that are making a lot of money doing a lot of the things that people are going to school for, but they were sold, go to school for what you're passionate about. Cool, but you might not have any money. You have to choose. And another comment that has 76,000 likes on it says, those degrees are for people with connections. Another one here says, we are surprised that you are surprised. But am I surprised? No, I actually agree. I'm not shocked that she's not making a lot of money. Many of us aren't thinking fashion degree and like, yeah, you're going to be making a whole bunch of money. We don't think that. And for the people who do think that, I think they are a very small population of people. Someone else said, I choose a useless degree. Why I'm broke. Fashion degree with the laughing emoji. Because follow your passion is the worst advice a college kid can receive, and y'all, I honestly can't agree more. Now, I am 32. Now, I've talked to a variety of people about college. I talked to old people, young people, and people my age. And one thing that I seem to notice is when people have went to school for degrees that they were passionate about and they aren't paying a lot of money, I tend to notice that passion ends up becoming anger. And this is why I think a lot of people are told, hey, go to school for what makes money and use that money to fund what you're passionate about. Do that on the side. I'll use myself as an example. I originally wanted to be a news anchor, y'all. I was my high school news anchor, but I was broke. And my family didn't have no money to give me. I didn't have no money to go to college. I could have went into student loan debt and still became a news anchor that way and went to school to become a news anchor. But instead, I joined the military because I said, hey, they're going to give me a degree. I'm going to let them pay for it. And I can still go to school for media broadcasting if I want to, right? Then at least I have something else to fall back on. But I didn't end up becoming a news anchor. Y'all see me on YouTube now. I'm still reporting stuff in a different way. Not so serious sometimes, but you get what I mean. This was a passion. Now, I'm not saying if it makes sense, you can't do it, but I'm just saying there might be another way to do the same exact thing that you have a passion for without being upset about the degree you got. Now, if it's going to pay you back, do your thing. But a fashion degree might not pull in the numbers that you're looking for depending on the lifestyle you want. All right, so this next video says, back to school and bankruptcy for everyone. Now, I don't know what this lady on.
For the record, we will all file bankruptcy.
You know what I noticed? Every video, y'all like to speak a lot of French. Every video, we. Also, student loans is one of the things that you cannot include in a bankruptcy if you're filing that.
We will all go back to school. You're not getting a dime from us. What? I have 3 degrees. I'll go get another one. I'm a Black woman. Black women are the most educated populace on this planet. We go to bed, wake up, and decide, okay, we're bored. Let's go get another degree. Are you kidding me? I will take 2 to 3 credits per semester, per year, until the next administration gets here and figures this all out. You're not getting a dime from me, Donald Trump. Because see, what you don't understand, while you are trying to crush the middle class and destroy the lower class, we're thinking 10 steps ahead of you. You've been wanting that degree? Go get it now. If you've been wanting that 2nd or 3rd degree, go sign up now. Sign up part-time. Get those credits. Stay in school as long as you need to wait out this administration. May 5th, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. Trust me.
Y'all, I'm honestly speechless after that one. She said come May 5th, they're going to be in for a rude awakening. Ma'am, they talking about garnishing checks for the people who are defaulted on student loans. Honestly speaking, I think most people think this is a game. I don't think they think this is serious. I don't think they ever had their checks garnished. I don't think they understand that the government is going to get their money one way or another. And I've heard a lot of people saying they're going to go back to school and just get some more debt. Y'all, if the debt that you already have, if you're just straight up saying you're not paying it, you're going to try to avoid it, and y'all are making these videos online. Listen, why would you say that online so then they can figure a way to make y'all pay the money? Can anybody make that make sense? They're making videos saying they're going to go back to school and just be like, hey, I'm back to school. You can't make me pay my student loans. I'm in school. Do y'all not think that they are watching? You don't think they're on TikTok trying to see what y'all are going to do and telling on yourselves? Because I don't understand. Now, her plan may have worked, but y'all are telling the plan online. I feel like if you're going to do something like that, you don't announce it online and then be like, yeah, this what we're all going to rally together. They going to get you for trying to incite a riot, ma'am. Do you not understand? You try to rally people together. And if you're already scared of debt, why would you get more? That's the part I really don't get. Because if your plan don't work and you went back to school just so you could avoid the debt, and then they end up doing something to where you got to pay what you said you wasn't going to pay, and what you went back to school to try to game the system about, you're going to be in a world of hurt. And I get that people are struggling, but I can't see how this would make it better. More debt?
I'm not paying my student loans. The government keeps threatening all these things they're going to do to people if they don't pay their student loans. I don't think they realize we don't care. We don't have enough to care. We don't care about credit scores anymore.
I hear her saying, y'all don't care. And again, y'all be speaking all this French. We. Some of y'all think because y'all feel this way that everybody's like, we don't care. We don't care. Ma'am, the amount of people shaking in their boots quite literally right now online, mad about these student loans, they're mad. They're making these videos because they do care. They are scared. They're nervous. Don't let them lie to you. Don't let none of the people in these videos saying they don't care, they not worried, lie to you. If they trying to find other ways to pay the student loans, they're worried. And I understand being worried. That's the thing. Y'all are making it seem like there's something wrong with being nervous about this. Something wrong with being a little concerned. There is nothing wrong with that. The fact that y'all are getting on here acting like you're not when we know you are, that's the part that I find interesting. Because if it were me, I'd be like, I am nervous. I'm a little concerned. Stuff is high. It's not a crime to feel that way, y'all. It's really not. You can feel however you want to feel, but at the end of the day, what is going to happen is still going to happen, if you get what I mean. So the best thing you can do is just try to figure out how you're going to get yourself out of this situation the best way you can. And I find it more reasonable to be concerned about your financial situation, how this is going to affect you, your life, your spouse, your children, whatever you have going on, than to be like, we don't care. Because if you just like, I don't care, them the people y'all need to be nervous about. The ones that are like, oh, well, the ones ready to crash out about it, ruin their lives, just not care what happens to them next. Those are the ones that you got to be like, are y'all okay? Because you feel the impacts personally, not everybody on TikTok.
We don't have enough to care. We don't care about credit scores anymore. We don't care if you siphon our paychecks. We're just going to quit and move on to the next company because that company was probably going to fire us anyway.
That is a really pessimistic way to see how everything is going. Like, oh, they were just going to fire me anyway. It's like, why did the worst case scenario just pop up? And that hasn't even happened yet, ma'am.
People don't stay at jobs like they used to. People aren't locked in to a job they have to stay at
True.
for 35 years because they're getting a pension and great benefits. Those things don't happen anymore. So if you threaten to siphon people's paychecks, they're just going to quit and go to another company.
And your paychecks are still going to get garnished. Just because you're on a different person's payroll doesn't change the fact that they're going to garnish your stuff. Do y'all understand that that's going to go through your HR department before your checks even get to you? Just like all of that other stuff that comes out every month in your paycheck that you don't know what it is. There's going to be a little deduction there for your wage garnishment for your student loans. It's going to be like, if you're reading this, you're too late. It's too late. It's already going to be done. So unless you're about to just work under the table for however long to avoid paying back your student loans, I don't know how people are going to do it. And then on top of that, you actually have to have a skill that is in demand. On top of that, if all of y'all rush in the market at the same time, all trying to bake cakes, all trying to clean houses, all trying to do side jobs or whatever, y'all are going to start doing the same thing because y'all are going to get on TikTok and say, hey, this is what I'm doing to avoid paying the federal government my student loan money. And once one person figure out what you do and everybody going to be doing the same thing, y'all are going to flood the market and create too much competition for yourselves. And then who's going to be getting paid any money on the side anyway? I don't think people are thinking this through all the way. I don't know what's going on. And what's crazy is y'all went to college. Y'all are educated people. You have to have thought a little bit forward. There has to have been a little bit more foresight. Just saying you don't care and you're going to go to another job, to me, it's not seeming like it's thought out all the way. A Google search will tell you how wage garnishments work. It works the same way for people on child support. It's going to be too late by the time you get your paycheck.
That company was probably going to go bankrupt anyway and fire everybody in the next couple months. This is going to be so much work for the government to siphon paychecks, and it's not going to get them enough money.
Y'all think it's going to be work for the government to take, aka garnish your paycheck? I'm just thinking it can't be that much worse than the people who get put on child support. They get their stuff taken quick. The government got their hand in that too. So I'm just like, y'all think it's going to be hard? And mind you, people were getting their wages garnished for their student loans before all of this happened. I know people who had their wages garnished for their student loans because they wasn't paying them. And it could just be that y'all don't know people in these situations and you don't talk to people about these sort of things, but it's been happening. People have been getting their stuff garnished by the government. I don't know what y'all...
They're going to end up losing money because they're going to have to hire thousands of people to try and get this money from people that don't have it.
Y'all do realize when you go get a job, you gave them your social, you gave them all your information that they need. And again, unless you're working under the table, they're already tracking you. Your HR department is going to take that money. What work do the government need to do? They probably got red flags going off as soon as they see your social come in their system saying, hey, they owe student loans. What are you? All right.
They're going to end up spending more money than they get in the long run. So these empty threats that they're giving us, they aren't scaring us.
I am not looking forward to anybody's financial decline come May 5th. Not at all. But respectfully, I do not believe that this is the energy that we are going to see once people start getting their wages garnished. I think it's going to be a whole new level of outrage, frustration, and a lot more videos of people being extremely upset, talking about how they can't pay their bills because y'all are acting like that's not something that a lot of people are facing right now. Many people lost their jobs. People are struggling to find jobs in this economy. And that's why I said it's okay. And it's like, have we got to the point in society where it's a weakness to be concerned with your life? This is your life, y'all. Like, I'm not upset with you if you worry. And maybe this might be the way that people are coping with the situation before it actually happens. Maybe they're just like, what are you going to do? It's not going to affect me. Maybe for some people, just putting their head in the sand and acting like it's not going to affect them until like the rubber meets the road is how they want to handle it. But y'all, there is going to be a point of realization. And I'm not happy that that's going to happen. Living in the reality of the situation, I think, is better than acting like, hey, this is not what's really going on. Are you helping other people by lying to them or lying about the situation and saying, we don't care, instead of actually facing the situation? There are a lot of people right now calling the people they owe the loans to and trying to work something out. I honestly feel like that is the best course of action. But waiting on them to decide what is going to happen to you, that's a little bit reactive. Because in the last video, I told you all what the repercussions were going to be for the people who were not being proactive and that are defaulted on student loans. I don't want to see that happen to anybody, but I just know because a lot of people have this mindset of they don't care, they're, oh, what are you going to do? They have no choice but to be reactive to the situation and be on the defense. And by then, sadly, you may have put yourself in a worse financial situation than if you actually tried to work something out. And I'm honestly worried for people. I am. And if y'all don't care, I don't even got student loans, but I care that a lot of people are going to be facing this.
They aren't scaring us if the government's watching. It doesn't scare us. We don't have enough for that to scare us. So I won't pay the hospital then if you take my student loans out of my check. It's one or the other. We pay our health care and our medical bills, or we pay our student loan bills, or our credit cards, or our loans. Like, we can't pay it all. We're not making enough to pay it all.
And she brought up a great point there. A lot of people aren't making enough to pay it all. The math don't make sense. And it's true. She just said, we can't pay our credit cards. We can't pay this. We can't pay all. These are all different things that a lot of people have got themselves into over the course of time. They end up owing a lot of money to the credit card companies and having other expenses that they need to cover. And this ties back to what I was talking about earlier, where I was saying how a lot of people bury themselves into debt with all these different organizations, and then they're still trying to live their lifestyle, and something's not working because you're not making enough money to pay all these people back and live the lifestyle you live. Yes, something does have to give. You either have to make more money, get rid of the debt, live off of less than you make, or you're just going to say you're not paying people back. And it seems like this is where she is with her decision, and that's her choice. And it's very fascinating because I said earlier, they would love to keep y'all in debt with all these different things. It doesn't matter if they're all from the same place. You have student loan debt, you have car loans, you have your insurance that you need to pay. You have a dog and now your dog is sick. You done ran it up on the credit card, hospital bills, vet bills. You got medical bills. Your tooth is loose in the back. You need a root canal. And then before you know it, you done ran up all of this debt and you're still just living in the same place you've been living, not making any more money, but owing way more people than you did 5 years ago. You see what I'm saying? And it gets worse and worse. And when people can recognize the cycle, or better yet, understand that this is how it works to stay out of the cycle, it is very helpful to their wallets as they move on in life. Trust me, I know. Something does have to give.
We're not sitting back and living in mansions, going on 20 vacations a year like the billionaires and saying, I don't want to pay my student loans. That's not it. We literally can barely afford life.
We also have to remember, y'all, the situation you're in, everybody is not in. As bad as I feel for the people that are struggling to figure out how they're going to repay their stuff, everybody is not in this situation, and I'm going to show that here in a second.
Just choosing which bills to pay. And the student loan one was taken off of the plate. I have less. Back when I was paying my student loans and the economy was a little better, I had more money back then, even with paying the student loans. I have less money now, and you want to take the student loans on top of it. I can't even be nervous about it because I can't afford it. I don't know what you're going to take from me, but whatever you take, that means I'm not going to pay something else because I don't have that kind of money. My job just doesn't pay that. Just doesn't.
And again, I have no clue what this woman went to school for, but she is making the claim that her job does not pay enough for her to pay it back. I don't know if she was making income-based repayments, which is still something. Nonetheless, I still wish her the best. And I truly hope that she opens up her eyes to the severity of the situation before it is too late, before her back gets put against the wall, because I don't want to see that happen, y'all. I just want people to be serious.
Okay, so I keep on seeing this a lot with the whole student loan conversation, and people need to stop trying to make it seem like just because you're broke or you can't pay back your student loans or your life did not turn out how you thought it was going to be does not mean that that's everybody's situation. It's people who went to school for great jobs that have great job security that make great money. It's really people out here making over $100,000 a year, and it's not uncommon. It's people who went to school for nursing, finance, HR, law school, like those are great careers. And it's people who work in healthcare only working 3 days a week, making $2,100 a week for travel assignments. Like, y'all have to stop projecting and try to make it seem like just because you broke or just because your life did not turn out how you thought it was going to be, that's everybody's situation. And some people went to the military or they went to community college, or their job gives them tuition reimbursement. Like, stop trying to make it seem like just because your life did not turn out how you planned or just because you're struggling or you're broke, that's everybody's situation. You cannot bring everybody down with you. Like, that's very negative energy.
Now, a lot of y'all might not like what she said, but it's true. The statement was, everybody that went to college is not broke. That is true. There are a lot of people that owe student loans, though. But I'm not saying they broke. They might not even want to pay. Some people got the money to pay, and they're just online saying they're not paying still, which is very crazy. But that's also their choice. The comments of this video say, full ride, baby, and I don't have any student loans, thank God. 21 making $100K as a project manager. Now, this is why I personally feel like y'all need to be very careful and selective of who you're listening to, because wouldn't it be better, more productive, and you would probably have more of a positive outlook if you were in the comment section of people who have better results than what everyone else has, that if everyone else is complaining and saying, hey, I'm in debt, I did it somehow and now I'm struggling, though I feel bad that they are in that situation, I want to see people who are not struggling, and I want to know, how'd you do it? 'Cause I want to do it too. I don't want to go the route that everybody else went because they're upset. I'd rather listen to somebody like this and go in their comment section and be nosy, because that's what you do. That's what you do when you want to figure out a solution. We just found out that there is somebody that's 20 years old making $80K per year as a project manager. And the crazier thing is when you hit the drop down for this comment, someone here said after taxes, 50 to 70K with a laughing emoji. And I'm just thinking, out of all the people you trying to bring down, you try to bring down somebody who is 21 making 80K as a project manager. Like, that was the one that you said, it ain't good enough. Are y'all okay? And she replied, rightfully so, with, and still doing well for my age with no real debt and no student loans. So what's funny? And I agree. Then she also says she has a cleaning business that makes up for what they take in taxes. So she's making more than what she even originally said at 21. Oh, here we go. Another one. 98K as a project manager at 23 with 0 in loans. Not everybody is broke. This is where I think y'all need to be, in the comment section of people who are able to provide you with some value, some insight. But instead, what we see a lot of people do is they're doom scrolling. They are trauma bonding with people that are having traumatic experiences. And because they feel like, hey, I'm having traumatic experience too, instead of trying to figure out a solution, you're in the comments of those videos like, yeah, I'm mad, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And if you're not in that situation, if you are watching people who are not going in the direction that you want to go, unless it makes sense for you to watch those people, why are you watching them? Because it might still be influencing you some way. All this free game on the internet, use it to your advantage. It's at your fingertips. You didn't even have to pay to understand or to learn that this was an industry that made good money for people who are quite young. And the comments just continue to say how people are able to still pay off their student loans because they have good jobs. That's pretty much what you're going to get in this comment section here. And I just have to point out one more thing. Somebody commented and said, this feels like you don't think anyone should go to school to be a teacher, social worker, or a civil servant. We live in a society that needs people to be willing to work in public service. Now, I found that this comment right here is very interesting because The first person that we talked about, she is a social worker. She was very upset that she was like making like $17 an hour or something like that. And she said that that was her passion. She wanted to help people. And I agree that they are very needed in society, right? But I want to break down, this lady said, this feels like you don't think anyone should go to school to be a teacher or whatever all these other things are. Did she say that? Y'all watched the same video I watched. The lady never said that. She said what she said. And she even says here, I never said that. But you know which degree you picked, and the pay, if you picked a low-paying job, that's on you. There are people who are teachers who don't mind the low pay. This goes back to what I was saying earlier, where if you are not able to live the lifestyle you want and be able to pay back your student loans, if you even took student loans, because not every teacher has student loan debt, then that's fine. But if you're going to take on a job that you know you're not going to be able to repay the loan for, based off of the information that you have available, that is a choice to do that. And all of those jobs are needed in society. But the pay is what it is, and I don't control the pay. This lady right here ain't able to change nobody's salary on TikTok. So the way I see it is, until society get it right, it might not be best for people who are struggling with money to go into a field because it's their passion. Because this is what happens. They end up in the comment section saying, hey, and I quote, as a society, to continue the prosperity we are enjoying, we absolutely need people going into those fields. My prosperity doesn't matter if my kids can't fully go to fully funded schools. And somebody underneath this comment said it best, because I was just about to say that. What we need and what we should have in society is not reality. This right here, everybody gets the same opportunity to declare a major, and at this point, it's well-known concept that some jobs pay more than others. And this is the thing. We aren't talking about reality. I want everyone's children to be able to strive. I would like to live in a society where we have teachers actually getting paid a lot and social workers getting paid a lot, but we know they don't. So if you need money, you might not want to go into those fields. I'm not saying that you can't have a passion for it, but you know the reality of the situation is you might not get paid a lot. Because if we think about the other alternative, what is that? What does that really look like? A bunch of people who are passionate about a certain line of work going into that line of work without the resources to pay back their loans. They will owe money to the government, and they will start being in a debt cycle where they will struggle to get out of it. Is it worth it? Who is that benefiting? Perhaps it benefits the children because they actually have good teachers, but does it benefit the teachers? And should people just do it because you have children? And if you feel like that, wouldn't it be better if you just became a teacher? Because everybody has free will to do what they want to do. And perhaps if there's not enough teachers, maybe the people who should be paying the teachers more will finally pay the teachers more or pay the social workers more, because now there will be a demand for these jobs.
Since we're all talking about income-driven payment plans being ripped away from us, I want to be wary of anybody who gets on here and is like, well, I paid off my loans in 2 years by just putting all my extra money towards my loans and being really disciplined. What they're not telling you is they were living at home rent-free with their parents for 2 years and didn't pay a bill. Or they're married and their partner was covering their expenses so they could put all their money towards paying their student loans. So, Tito, shade if that's you, but let's call it what it is. You didn't pay your loans off because you started making coffee at home and skipped Starbucks. You did it because somebody was covering your cost of living for 2 years. Just sure, if I could put all of my money towards paying my student loans, they'd be paid off. But that's not reality. Unfortunately, I have these things called bills, and I pay all of them, all by myself, as if the state of the world wasn't bad enough. And I got on here barking at you. Well, just stop going to dinner with your friends and you can pay off your loans. Shut up. I'm not interested in anything you have to say right now, unless it's literally, I'm sorry, the government keeps fucking you in the Okay, you're not being helpful. You're not being productive. You're making people feel bad for having student loans. You're just missing the whole point. Okay, I'm begging y'all to shut up. Before you click record, just...
And we won't. I just had to. I was thinking, isn't that a good thing that the people took these alternative routes, whether they stayed with their parents or they have a spouse, even if they were going 50-50, like that still helped, right? I thought that was the way things should be. I don't see nothing. I didn't really even think this was something to point out, because I kind of feel like if you're going to go into college, student loan debt, and you're broke, like if you are broke, you should be trying to do stuff like this. You should be trying to live with your parents. And it's nothing against the people that did it the way she did it and they're buried in debt and very upset because now you got bills and you live by yourself and you don't have any help. But why would I be living by myself? Why? Where's the roommate? Heck, a lot of y'all are social butterflies. Y'all say y'all got all these friends and all this. Like, why aren't you moving with one of them people? Move in with your sister, your brother. I don't know. Hell, figure it out. Move in with somebody to cut some costs. Because the whole reason why she's saying a lot of these people are able to pay back their student loans is essentially because they have less money going to their expenses. If I was a person that was upset about it, I would just try to figure out how I can get less money on my expenses. Do y'all see what I'm saying? I'll be trying to figure out how I can do it. Ooh, ideas. Tell me more. Somebody here says, As someone who paid off $30K of student loans in 4 years while making $45K, yes, I lived rent-free at home. No way I could have done it without that break. This is proof that this is what works. There was a problem. That was the solution. I don't see what... And the creator replied, "You are real as heck for being honest about that. I wish others would follow suit." I didn't know that there was a debacle online about how people were actually paying off their student loans, because at the end of the day, I didn't really think y'all cared about how they were doing it. And another very popular comment that we see right here says, "You didn't skip Starbucks sent me, LOL." Skipping coffee isn't going to save you $100K in student loans. And the creator replied with, "You think I'm spending $880 a month on coffee?" To be totally honest, how other people cut back in their lives in order to lower their lifestyle so they can actually pay off their debts, I don't really care how they do it as long as they do it, because I feel like that's the real freedom. The real freedom is going to come whenever you get all of them loans and all that debt paid off. So if you got to hold it down with your cousin that you beef with, that always be in the fridge drinking your apple juice or whatever the case may be, you just got to do what you got to do if it ends up cutting back costs. Now, the question is, what are you willing to do for a Klondike bar? I mean, to pay off your student loans.
Okay, so I know that people say go to school for what you're passionate about, and I did that. Right out of high school, I went to college for criminal justice, and upon realizing that degree does nothing for me, anytime I ask somebody how did they get to where they are in this field, they just said they applied. I asked, do they have a degree? They tell me no, because most of the stuff in that field you're going to learn while on the job training. So I'm getting a degree in criminal justice just because they say they want a degree. Now, mind you, most of the stuff that at least I plan on pursuing with my degree is not the most money in the world. And of course, I'm working to like my job and to get money. But now realizing that in this economy, thank goodness for free will, that I plan on doing sterile processing tech. Why? This just came out of nowhere. Why again? Because I want to. Because why the hell not?
The real question is, how well does it pay? And will you repeat the same mistake again? Will you be upset again? Now, if the answer is no, hey, do what you do. But as far as the criminal justice thing, that's like I would be kind of upset to know, hey, I didn't even need all of this. Everybody else in this field, they getting on the job training. And I just paid 4 years for a degree for criminal justice. So the comments of this video say, people got to realize the degree isn't enough. While in college, you have to be strategic and have a plan. And I couldn't agree more. And the creator actually said they agree too. I am still plotting and planning. I just wish I realized this sooner. And that is why I like to discuss this type of stuff, y'all. One thing about time is you ain't getting it back. Now, you can try to make better decisions in the future, but whatever you did in the past, that's already over and done with. And the truth is, in life, we don't get no do-overs. We don't get to try it again and go back and redo something the way that we should have did it after we realized that we shouldn't have did it that way in the first place. And that is why we like to talk about this type of stuff on this channel. A lot of people think you got more time to waste than you might have. You think you can just go into all this debt and then go into more debt and then just keep putting it off and all these different things and then regret your degree and not really have thought it all the way through and then have to switch to something else. And do y'all understand how long all of these things take? This is why people feel like they wasted time and they got a degree in something that is not useful. They're realizing that if they just picked up the phone and maybe even called the front desk, they would have realized that you didn't need no experience. They was going to train you anyway. You didn't need 4 years. Maybe they wanted, but you don't need it. But unfortunately for you, you already did the time. Meanwhile, there are people in that same field. They coming in young, no debt, just coming in the job, getting the on-the-job experience, and you done did all of this. I can definitely understand why they would be upset. But nonetheless, I hope she's successful in the next career field she goes into, and I hope that they actually pay her some good money.
You are not a victim of your mortgage in the way that federal student loan borrowers right now are victims of predatory changing contracts from what we signed when we took on these loans. Let me explain it in mortgage terms. Let's say you took out a mortgage, you signed a 30-year mortgage. The amount that you pay every month that goes towards principal and interest never changes.
Generally speaking, unless you got an ARM, if you have a fixed interest rate, it would stay the same. But ma'am, not everybody got a fixed interest rate, and be honest.
The amount that you're paying back towards the money you borrowed from the bank literally will never change. Here's what's happening to student loan borrowers. You signed a 30-year mortgage. Tomorrow, Mr. Bank calls you and says, actually, starting 2 months from now, we're switching you over to a 10-year mortgage. And your monthly payment is going to change to the amount that will pay off the rest of your loan in the next 10 years. That is what's happening to student loan borrowers right now. Yes, your taxes might go up, your insurance go up, but what you're paying towards what you borrowed will never, ever, ever change. There are no taxes and insurance on student loans that you need to budget increases for when you sign that contract. You're just borrowing money. And you're saying, this is the monthly payment. I know for some reason, people that don't have student loans have no ability to feel empathy for those of us who does, but I think maybe you should feel a little worried that the government is now signaling it will just change the terms of any agreement it makes with a citizen. Because that seems like maybe not a good thing for all of us.
To be honest, a lot of us know that them loans wasn't right from the get-go. I agree. They're definitely predatory. I just gave you all earlier the latest that I found online about the income-driven repayment plans, and she actually posted this video on March 14th. So there have been some updates since then, but honestly, student loans have been quite predatory for decades. That ain't nothing new. And I think a lot of people are talking about it like it is something new, and it might be because they weren't looking at what was going on, but this stuff been happening to some of these people for like 10 years. And they just been like, oh, I'm not paying it. But now because of the default and everything coming forward and happening on May 5th, now people are looking at their student loans and a lot of people are coming up delinquent, as I said earlier, because they haven't been making any payments whatsoever. And now they're starting to worry, which again, I understand. A lot of people did try to find different ways to pay back their student loans, like going to go move back in with their parents or whatever the case may be, right? And they didn't have the student loans for 10 years, so they didn't triple in the amount, which I'm not saying is right whatsoever, but it's a different conversation than the people who are making minimum payments. It's very case-by-case basis when it comes to these student loans and why a lot of people are feeling the way they feel. Overall, though, very predatory.
Oh, and another thing, you can tell FAFSA to go on right the hell, and I'll meet them there. I'm not giving y'all a god cent of my money, okay? Money that I don't have, by the way. But even if I did have the money to pay for it, you're still not getting it. Y'all the one that forced us to go in the first place, telling us that if we didn't go to college, we weren't going to amount to nothing. And, you know, going to college is better than having a trade. And, you know, if you want to have this amount of money, then you need to... All lies, all lies. Most of us are unemployed. Most of us are working in fields that have nothing to do with our degree. And you want my money. You can take that up with whoever you need to take it up with. Take it up with Jesus. I already paid it all. That's what they've been telling me. They say he paid it all and I'm going to let him pay it. So y'all not getting a god.
He did pay it all, but I don't know if he was talking about your student loans, though. Hey, the part that got me about this whole video was this right here.
Y'all the one that forced us to go in the first place.
They ain't forced me to go. I know a lot of y'all are saying they forced you to do something, but I'm like, who is the they? Because if y'all can point them out and hold them accountable, I think you should. But the they y'all be talking about, it's an imaginary they. Call them by name. If it was your parents, say it was your parents. Because all of this they said, who is y'all talking about? Because I'm telling you, I wouldn't have no shame. I'd be like, Miss Rogers, my high school teacher from the 7th grade, you gonna get this smoke too. You misled me. Like, I'm just saying, point them out.
How much do you owe in student loans and how much have you paid? Because I just went and looked at how much I owe versus how much I paid. I graduated a decade ago and I owed $50,000, right?
Right.
And I said, you know what? I'm just going to be consistent. I'm going to pay my bill. And, you know, eventually that amount will go down. And I've paid $200 something a month since then, right?
Okay.
$200 something a month. It has been 10 years later. I started at 50,000. It's at 47,000, right?
Was those minimum payments? What? That's ridiculous. Was it income-based repayments? Because $50,000, if you're only putting $200 a month towards that for 10 years, and she already paid $25 over the last 10 years, and she's only $3,000 less than when she started, this to me sounds like this had to be like a minimum payment amount, and this did not end up working in her favor. It's great that she was making her payments, don't get me wrong, but it didn't do anything. And y'all, this is not the same as a credit card. There's a lot of nuance in different things that are in these contracts when it comes to the college debt and things like that. But this is why I'm very scared for people who think that making minimum payments is actually going to help them in the long run. You will be paying that off so long. You might end up giving up the ghost, if you know what I mean, before you even pay it off all the way. That's crazy.
I've paid $25,000+ since I graduated college, and it's only down 3. It's not making sense.
It don't make no sense.
$200 is already a nice sized bill. What do you want me to do? Why does it have to be so aggressive? I'm not understanding. I'm trying to pay the money back. I'm giving you what I got. You know what I'm saying? Am I supposed to be paying it for the rest of my life? Do I have to pay $1,000 a month to see progress? Like, it's getting out of hand.
The truth of the matter is, y'all, the longer you make the least amount of payments as you can as possible, the worse it gets. This is why a lot of people are in a mad dash to pay off them student loans as soon as they get out of college. They don't care if they got to hold it down for 3-4 years. They don't care if they got to go move back in with their parents, because stuff like this happens to people. I hate to see it, because I really feel like they might not have known better. And why would you have? She was probably like 18 at the time. She probably didn't even understand that 10 years later, she was about to be posting that she is about to actually crash out about the student loans. And while I know that to be true, I also know that the people that you took the loans out with don't care. That's the truth. The only person that's going to help you pay them student loans back is you, or your spouse, maybe if you have a spouse, or maybe your parents, if you're lucky enough to have parents to help you out. But at the end of the day, this is your debt. The scary part about student loans to me was always knowing that something could be so predatory. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be held accountable for a decision I made when I was 17 or 18. And nobody's going to care if I made a bad one. A lot of people made bad decisions when they were 18, 17 years old and still had to be held accountable for it. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying that's how life works. Sometimes you get caught up in some stuff, and when you get caught up in the stuff, you look around and you start to realize nobody was going to come save you anyway, because that's how it is when you're an adult. Actually, people are walking around the world not caring what you're going through. To all of the young folks watching, that is the truth. Nobody really cares what you're going through. They want to go to work, go to their job, make money, have a good life, but they're not going to be overly concerned with your life, your student loans, your credit cards, your monthly expenses, your daycare, whatever you got going on. Generally speaking, people are not walking around thinking about what you got going on. And that's the part that sucks, but it's true. I'm not happy to see that they're going to have to face the reality of these situations that they probably made when they were 17, 18, 19 years old. I'm not happy about that. Unfortunately, sometime in life, even when we take a bad deal, we just took the bad deal and we got to kind of go from there. And that's what we're going to end up seeing, sadly, in my opinion. We're going to see a lot of people having to come to terms with just a horrible deal that they made. It kind of feels like people who got student loans are like artists, and the record labels are the universities, are the colleges. And by the time the artist found out that they got a bad deal, it was too late. And now you owe them your whole life. You got to work for them forever. You trying to figure out how to get out the deal. You're stuck. And they're not going to stop you, because their job might actually be to get you in there, depending on who you're talking to. But y'all, we got the internet. We got these videos now. People is telling it all. And it's good, because this is how you make better decisions. You make decisions based off of the information you have presented to you. But I'd be lying to y'all if I said that I think it's looking good for people who weren't making a lot of payments or a large lump sum of payments at a time towards their student loans. If they could, it's not looking good at all.
Education department is warning that if we don't pay back our student loans, that our wages are going to start being garnished. I thought y'all were supposed to be somewhere not existent. When they dismantled the education department, they also dismantled my $56,000 in student loans that I owe, okay? And the thing is, I shouldn't even owe those loans. I should not even owe those loans. For half my college career, I was literally a homeless student. And their solution was, here are more predatory loans so you can get a degree and go work in public service. Oh my God, why do you want it to be free? You should just went to a trade. It wasn't offered to me. It was not offered to me. I would have loved to have gone into a trade and been an electrician and not had student loan debt, but I did what I needed to do.
And I just know at the end of the day, nobody really cares, because they're going to say, hey, well, you did it, but 17? Just putting myself in her shoes, thinking about what was offered at 17. You know, I might have known about these sort of things, but I can understand why somebody would have made a bad decision, whether they knew about it or not. I don't even think it matters if you knew about a trade or not. I feel that we were just a little too young to understand the gravity of student loans regardless, at 17.
A 17-year-old, you gave a 17-year-old $30,000 in student loans. And now I'm supposed to pay it back? The education department was dismantled. So why are my student loans not dismantled? Talking about garnishing wages. 5 million people, y'all out y'all mind. Education department.
And at the end of the day, there's not much that can be done about it. And it's really sad. I understand the frustration. Maybe I think some things should change. I don't think any 17-year-old should be able to bury themselves in a debt like that. We as the adults of this generation know what that does to them. But I also can understand there's a lot of advanced students, like students that are way above their peers that, they might be able to go to college, but the gravity of what the dollar amount looks like, I think needs to be explained so heavily to where there's no question of what repaying these student loans would look like. There shouldn't be any gray area. And if they agree to it, then maybe. And the parents need to be there. But y'all, I need to know, what do you think about all this down below? How do you feel about what is about to happen on May 5th with the people who defaulted on their student loans being forced to potentially face wage garnishments, getting their tax refund taken away from them, or losing access to other federal government services? But we have to start making better decisions today in order to have a better future.